Most people think seduction is about romance, but the truth is it's about influence. It's about knowing yourself so deeply that others can't help but be drawn to you. Imagine walking into a room and instantly commanding attention, not by force, but by presence. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to build unshakable confidence, master the subtle art of attraction, and unlock the kind of power that makes opportunities chase you. If you're ready to stop chasing and start magnetizing, listen closely. When you walk into a room, people notice you before you ever open your mouth. That moment, those first few seconds decide far more than you think. It's not just about looks, clothes, or status. It's about something deeper, something you can't fake for long. Presence. That invisible force that makes people pause mid-conversation, tilt their head, and think, who is that? Presence is power without having to announce it. It's confidence without arrogance. It's influence without effort. And it's something anyone can develop, but only if you understand what truly fuels it. The first step to building presence is learning how to own your space. Too many people shrink themselves without even realizing it. They stand with their shoulders caved in, eyes darting, speaking in a voice that's just a little too soft, as if apologizing for taking up room. But the truth is, the world respects those who respect themselves enough to stand tall. Think of the people you've met who made an impression instantly. They didn't rush, they didn't fidget, and they weren't desperate for approval. They were grounded, centered, and comfortable in their own skin. That's not an accident. That's trained. Presence begins in the body before it ever reaches the mind. Straighten your spine, let your shoulders roll back. Breathe deeply from your diaphragm, not shallowly from your chest. Move with intention, not haste. Every gesture should look like you meant it. This isn't about being stiff or robotic. It's about being deliberate. When your movements are steady, people subconsciously feel that you're steady. And in a world that's frantic and uncertain, steadiness is magnetic. But presence isn't just posture, it's energy. People can feel the mood you carry before you say a word. If you walk in weighed down by self-doubt, the room feels it. If you walk in carrying quiet certainty, the room feels that too. Your energy is shaped by your thoughts, and your thoughts are shaped by your preparation. When you've done the work, when you've practiced your craft, when you know your worth, you radiate something rare, and people are drawn to it like moths to light. There's also an unspoken part of presence that comes from emotional self-control. If you react to every little thing, you give away your power. The ones who seem unshakable aren't emotionless. They've simply learned how to process their feelings without letting them leak all over the room. Imagine speaking with someone who listens without interrupting, who pauses before answering, whose eyes stay locked on yours with genuine curiosity. That's the kind of interaction that makes you feel like you matter. And when you make people feel like they matter, your presence lingers long after you've left. Another critical piece is the voice. Your voice is a direct channel to your influence. Speak too quickly and you sound nervous. Speak too slowly without variation and you lose engagement. But speak with rhythm, intention, and clarity and you hold attention. Lowering your tone slightly can project calm authority. Using silence in the right moments creates anticipation. And that pause, that moment where you let your words sink in before continuing, that's where you take command without force. And let's not forget eye contact. Not the kind that's aggressive or challenging, but the kind that's steady, warm, and attentive. The kind that says, I see you. I'm here with you. Most people don't realize how much trust can be built in seconds simply by holding someone's gaze with genuine presence. Eye contact is not about dominance. It's about connection. And connection is the heartbeat of influence. The last piece of presence is authenticity. You can study all the body language techniques in the world, but if they're not aligned with who you really are, people will sense the mismatch. Presence isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's about peeling away everything that's fake so the strongest, clearest version of you can walk into the room. That's why self-awareness is so important. When you know your values, your purpose, and your strengths, you stop performing and start living, and people can feel the difference. Presence is not loud. It's not desperate. It's not about proving you're worthy. True presence is quiet certainty. It's knowing you belong not because someone else decided you do, but because you've decided it for yourself. When you master that, you no longer have to chase attention. It will find you. If presence draws people in, emotional intelligence keeps them there. It's the difference between momentary charm and lasting influence. You can have the best posture, the perfect voice, and magnetic energy, but if you can't read the room or understand the person in front of you, your impact will fade as quickly as it started. People don't just respond to how you look or sound, they respond to how you make them feel. And the ability to navigate those feelings, both yours and theirs, is where emotional intelligence becomes your greatest weapon. At its core, emotional intelligence is about awareness. First, awareness of yourself, your triggers, your habits, your emotional patterns. Most people walk into interactions without realizing they're carrying baggage from the last conversation, the last argument, or even the last thought they had before they entered the room. That baggage leaks through in subtle ways, in the tightness of your jaw, the sharpness in your tone, or the restless tapping of your fingers. Self-awareness allows you to catch those signals and adjust before they cost you influence. It's like being the captain of your own ship. You can't control the weather, but you can adjust your sails. Once you've got a handle on yourself, the next step is tuning in to others. People reveal more than they think through their body language, tone, pace of speech, even the words they choose. If someone is speaking quickly, it could mean they're excited or nervous. If they're giving short, clipped answers, they might be guarded or disengaged. If their eyes keep darting away, they could be uncomfortable or distracted. The key is to observe without judgment. Too many people listen to respond instead of listening to understand. But when you truly listen, when you hear not just the words but the emotions behind them, you build a bridge most people can't. Empathy is the foundation of this bridge. Not the shallow kind where you nod and say, I understand, but the deeper kind where the other person actually feels understood. That might mean mirroring their tone to create comfort or adjusting your approach to match their energy. If they're anxious, slow down. If they're excited, match their enthusiasm. When you can meet people where they are emotionally, they naturally open up to you. And when they open up, you gain insight into their desires, fears, and motivations, the real levers of influence. But there's a delicate balance here. Being emotionally intelligent doesn't mean you become a people pleaser. It's not about molding yourself to fit everyone else. It's about reading the environment, choosing how to respond in a way that serves both the relationship and your purpose. Sometimes that means challenging someone when they're wrong, but doing it in a way that protects their dignity. Other times it means stepping back and letting them feel heard before you steer the conversation. This is how you guide without pushing, lead without forcing, and influence without resistance. You also have to manage your own emotions in real time. There will be moments when someone tries to provoke you, moments when they misunderstand you, moments when they push every button you have. If you let yourself react impulsively, you hand them your power. But if you pause, take a breath, and choose your response with intention, you keep control. That self-control is noticed. People may not say it out loud, but they'll remember how you stayed composed when others would have cracked. That memory builds respect, and respect is the soil where influence grows. Another layer of emotional intelligence is knowing how to frame your message so it lands. You can say the exact same words in two different ways and get completely different results. A request can sound like a demand or an invitation depending on your tone. A correction can feel like an attack or a gift depending on how you deliver it. Emotional intelligence allows you to package your truth in a way that people can actually receive it instead of resisting it. And finally, it's about consistency. Anyone can fake emotional intelligence for a single conversation. The real power comes when people see you display it over and over, when you're the person who stays calm under pressure, who remembers the details that matter to them, who can speak to their heart as well as their mind. Over time, that makes you more than just likable. It makes you trusted. And trust is the deepest form of influence you can ever have. When you master emotional intelligence, you stop trying to win people over with force. Instead, you win them over by understanding them better than they understand themselves. And when you can do that, you don't just influence the moment, you influence the future. We live in a world that constantly tells you to put yourself out there, to share more, to be more visible, to let everyone know exactly who you are. But here's the truth. If people feel like they already have you all figured out, the curiosity dies. And when curiosity dies, influence fades. Mystery isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about protecting the most valuable parts of yourself so that people have to lean in to learn more. It's about understanding that in a culture addicted to overexposure, the rarest thing you can offer is selective access. The most magnetic people in the world are not the ones who give you everything all at once. They're the ones who reveal themselves in layers. They give you just enough to spark interest, but never so much that the story is over. Think about the last time you met someone who had that quiet intrigue about them. They didn't rush to tell you their life story. They didn't fill every silence with noise. They allowed space for your mind to wonder, for your imagination to paint the rest. That's the art of mystery. It's leaving room for others to do the work of discovering you. Mystery starts with restraint. Most people believe that the more they share, the more relatable they become. But often, oversharing doesn't create connection. It creates familiarity, and familiarity too soon can kill attraction. When you reveal too much, you remove the sense of discovery. Human beings are wired to value what they have to work for. This applies to relationships, business, leadership, every form of influence. If you give people all the answers before they even have questions, you take away the adventure. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It's about understanding timing. A good storyteller knows when to deliver the punchline, when to hold the pause, and when to leave the audience wanting more. You have to treat your personal presence the same way. If you tell everything about yourself the first time someone meets you, there's no tension left. But if you share pieces gradually, each encounter becomes a continuation of the story. And stories people can't finish in one sitting are the ones they keep coming back to. Mastery also thrives in silence. We've been trained to fear pauses in conversation, to fill every gap with words. But silence, when used well, can be magnetic. It signals confidence. It shows you're comfortable enough with yourself not to rush. In a world that's moving at 1,000 miles an hour, a pause can feel like gravity. It pulls people in closer. That space you create gives others the chance to process, to reflect, and to want more. Another part of cultivating mystery is not making yourself constantly available. If every text is answered in seconds, every invitation accepted, every request immediately fulfilled, you send the message that your time and energy aren't valuable. When you create boundaries, not walls, but clear lines, you signal that access to you is a privilege, not a given. And people value privileges they have to earn. Even the way you present yourself, mystery plays a role. You don't have to explain every decision, every move, or every thought process. Let people wonder why you do what you do. Let them fill in the blanks. That doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you understand that influence isn't just about what you say. It's about what you don't say. The most powerful leaders, the most captivating artists, the most magnetic personalities all have one thing in common. They hold something back. Not because they're secretive, but because they know that the mind is most engaged when it's reaching for something just out of grasp. Curiosity is a powerful form of attention, and mystery is how you keep that attention alive. Mystery isn't a mask, it's a discipline. It's the choice to let people discover you on their own terms and at their own pace. And the beautiful thing is, the less you force it, the stronger it becomes. Because when people have to lean in to understand you, they invest in you, and people value what they invest in. If presence gets you noticed and emotional intelligence makes people feel understood, mystery is what keeps them coming back for more. Confidence is one of those qualities everyone admires, but most misunderstand. Too often, people try to fake it, thinking if they just act bold enough, speak loud enough, or look certain enough, the world will believe them. And maybe for a short while it works. But the problem with pretending is that the moment life tests you, the mask slips. True confidence isn't a costume you put on. It's the natural byproduct of competence. It's knowing you've put in the work, sharpened your skills, and built yourself into someone you can rely on. When you trust yourself, you don't need to perform. You simply are. Competence is the quiet foundation under every strong person you've ever admired. You might not see all the hours they've put in behind the scenes, but you feel the weight of it when they walk into the room. It's the musician who's practiced for years so that when the spotlight hits, their fingers move effortlessly. It's the speaker who studied their craft so deeply that their words flow without hesitation. It's the athlete who trains so relentlessly that game day feels like second nature. Confidence doesn't come from wishing you were good. It comes from becoming good. This is where so many people go wrong. They chase the image of confidence without building the substance. They want the results without the discipline. But here's the truth. You cannot cheat the process. You can't talk your way into lasting confidence. You have to earn it. And earning it means keeping promises to yourself. Every time you set a goal and follow through, even in small things, you strengthen the trust you have in your own abilities. That's why self-respect and confidence are inseparable. You can't have one without the other. The beautiful thing is competence compounds. The more you learn, the more capable you feel. The more capable you feel, the more willing you are to take on bigger challenges. And each time you succeed, your confidence grows not because someone else told you you're good enough, but because you've proven it to yourself. That's the kind of confidence no one can take away from you. It's also important to understand that competence isn't just about skill. It's about preparation. The most confident people don't leave their success to chance. They prepare so well that when the moment comes, they can focus on connection, creativity, and execution instead of worrying about failure. Preparation removes doubt. It's why someone who's done the work can walk into a room without fear. They're not hoping they can handle what's ahead. They know they can. And here's something else. Competence is magnetic because it's rare. In a world where many people settle for good enough, the person who takes the time to master their craft stands out instantly. People are drawn to excellence. They want to be around it, learn from it, and trust it. That's why building competence isn't just about feeling better about yourself. It's about becoming a person others naturally respect. There's a humility that comes with true competence as well. When you know you've put in the work, you don't need to constantly announce it. You don't need to prove yourself in every conversation. You let your actions and results speak for you. That's the kind of quiet strength that earns lasting influence. It's the difference between someone who talks about what they can do and someone who simply does it. Of course, competence takes time. It requires patience, persistence, and the willingness to be bad at something before you get good at it. And that's where most people quit, at the uncomfortable stage. But if you can push through that stage, if you can keep showing up long enough to get better, you'll reach a point where your abilities become part of you. At that point, confidence isn't something you have to think about. It's just there, like breathing. Real confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's the calm certainty that you can handle whatever comes, not because you're invincible, but because you're prepared. And when you have that, you don't need to chase approval, attention, or validation. You've already given yourself the only approval that truly matters. The kind that comes from knowing you've done the work and earned the right to stand tall. If you want to influence people, if you want them to not just hear you but remember you, you have to speak in a way that makes them feel something. Facts and logic might convince the mind for a moment, but emotion imprints on the heart, and nothing triggers emotion like a well-told story. Storytelling is one of the oldest and most powerful tools of influence we have. Long before there were books, speeches, or videos, there were people sitting around a fire passing on lessons through stories. And we still respond to them today because stories don't just inform, they transport. When you tell a story, you invite someone into an experience, you give them a front row seat to an idea they can see, hear, and feel. Instead of saying, be confident, you tell the story of the time you walked into a room shaking inside but spoke anyway, and what happened next. Instead of giving abstract advice about resilience, you tell the story of the time everything went wrong and you had to find a way forward. People don't connect to principles. They connect to people, and stories are how they meet the person behind the message. The key is to use stories with intention. Every story should serve a purpose. It should either illustrate a point, spark curiosity, or plant a seed that grows in the listener's mind long after the conversation is over. A random anecdote is just noise, but a story with a clear takeaway is a weapon of influence. It sticks because it's more than information. It's transformation wrapped in emotion. A powerful story doesn't have to be long or dramatic. Sometimes the most impactful stories are simple moments that reveal something true. The time you almost gave up, but didn't. The conversation that changed your perspective. The small risk that led to something bigger than you imagined. The best stories are relatable. They make the listener think, that could be me. And once they see themselves in your story, they're far more likely to believe your message. You also have to understand pacing. Don't rush through the details. Let the scene breathe. Make people see the room, hear the sounds, feel the tension. Use specifics, but only the ones that matter. Too many details dilute the power. The right details make it vivid. And don't underestimate the power of pauses. That moment of silence after you say something important gives the audience time to picture it. It gives the weight of your words time to land. And here's something that separates good storytellers from great ones. They know how to create contrast. A story without tension is just a report. But when you introduce a struggle, a challenge, or an obstacle, you engage the listener's instincts. They lean in because they want to know what happens next. Conflict pulls people into story, and resolution gives them the satisfaction they're craving. You can also use metaphors and analogies to make ideas stick. The human brain thinks in pictures. If I tell you growth is uncomfortable, you might nod and move on. But if I say growth is like breaking in new shoes, at first it rubs and blisters, but soon it fits like it was made for you. Now you have an image you can feel. And you'll remember it because you've lived it in some way. The most compelling storytellers aren't afraid to be vulnerable in their stories. That doesn't mean oversharing. It means showing the real human side of yourself. People connect more deeply when they see your flaws, your doubts, your mistakes. Perfection creates distance, but vulnerability builds trust. When you share how you failed, learned, and came back stronger, you give others permission to believe they can do the same. Storytelling at its best is an act of generosity. You're not performing for attention. You're giving someone a piece of your experience so they can see their own life differently. You're offering them a lens through which the impossible might feel possible. And when you do that well, you don't just hold their attention, you hold their belief. If presence gets you noticed, emotional intelligence makes people feel understood, mystery keeps them intrigued, and competence earns their respect, then storytelling is what makes your influence unforgettable. Influence on its own is powerful, but influence that fades quickly is just a momentary spark. The real goal is to turn those sparks into a steady flame that can light the path for years. That's the difference between being someone people are momentarily impressed by and being someone whose presence continues to shape their thoughts, actions, and opportunities long after the initial encounter. Lasting power isn't about control. It's about becoming a reference point in people's lives, the person they think of when they need guidance, inspiration, or direction. To do that, you first have to shift your mindset from short-term wins to long-term impact. Many people make the mistake of focusing only on the immediate impression, how to look good in the moment, how to get a quick yes, how to win someone over fast. But short-term influence without depth fades quickly. When you focus on the long game, every interaction becomes a brick in a structure you're building, not just a performance to get through. You're not trying to win just this moment. You're building a reputation that will speak for you in rooms you haven't even entered yet. Lasting power comes from consistency. Anyone can be charismatic for a few hours. Anyone can be confident when everything is going their way. But the people who truly hold influence are the ones who show up with the same presence, respect, and intentionality over and over again. No matter the circumstances, people trust consistency, they rely on it. And trust, once earned, turns influence into something that endures. It also comes from delivering results. You can have all the charm, mystery, and confidence in the world, but people can't rely on you to follow through. Your power will crumble. Results build credibility, and credibility is the backbone of lasting authority. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you have to be dependable. When you say you'll do something, do it. When you set a standard, uphold it. Over time, people begin to see you as not just an option, but the standard they measure others against. Another element of turning influence into power is the ability to lift others as you rise. Power that's hoarded is fragile. It depends on keeping others down to stay on top. But power that's shared grows stronger because it creates loyalty and respect that can't be bought. When you help others succeed, when you use your influence to open doors for them, you create allies who want to see you win. And when people want to see you win, your reach extends far beyond what you could build alone. Lasting power also requires adaptability. The world changes, people change, circumstances change. If you cling too tightly to one way of doing things, you risk becoming irrelevant. Those who remain influential over decades are the ones who evolve without losing their core. They pay attention to what's happening around them. They listen to new perspectives, and they're willing to adjust while staying true to their values. That ability to adapt makes people trust that you'll always be relevant no matter the season. And finally, lasting power is rooted in authenticity. In the long run, people can tell who's playing a role and who's living their truth. When you're real, you may not be for everyone, but for the people who connect with you, your impact will run deep. Authenticity allows you to influence without manipulation, to inspire without forcing, to lead without pretending. And because it's built on truth, it doesn't crack under pressure. When presence draws attention, emotional intelligence deepens connection, mystery sustains intrigue, competence earns respect, and storytelling cements memory. What you're left with is the ability to take all of those and build something that lasts. That's when you stop being a passing moment in someone's day and start becoming a permanent chapter in their life. At the end of the day, everything we've talked about, presence, emotional intelligence, mystery, competence, storytelling, and lasting power is not just about influencing others. It's about transforming yourself into the kind of person who naturally attracts respect, trust, and opportunity. Because the truth is, the world doesn't respond to what you demand. It responds to who you are. When you walk into a room with quiet certainty, when you can read people and connect with them on a deeper level, when you carry an air of intrigue, when your skills back up your confidence, when your stories touch hearts, and when your actions consistently align with your values, you stop chasing power and start embodying it. And when you embody it, you don't just change your own life, you change the lives of everyone who crosses your path.